Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Andrea, and today I'm sharing 5 different super easy Dollar Tree DIYs that are all perfect for spring. So let's get started. For this DIY, I'm using a grapevine wreath from Dollar Tree, along with this pink burlap ribbon and this roll of regular burlap. I'm folding the burlap in half and cutting a long strip because I want it to be thinner to go around my wreath. I'm starting by hot gluing the burlap ribbon to the bottom of the wreath, and then I'm twisting it, going around the front of the wreath and hot gluing it in place along the way. Once I reach the bottom of the wreath again with the ribbon, I'm cutting it, then hot gluing it down. Now I'm taking this pink burlap ribbon. I'm making a bow by making one smaller loop in the center and then 4 larger loops on the top, bottom, and either side of the first loop. And I cut off 2 tails hanging down from either side of the bow. Now I'm hot gluing this bow to the bottom of the wreath. Now with the rest of my pink ribbon, I'm hot gluing it down and following around the wreath, weaving it around where I already have the burlap ribbon. And this is a wired ribbon, so it makes it really easy to add a bit of texture by having the ribbon go up and down and around. I decided I didn't really like having the pink totally covering up the burlap. I want to weave it around a little bit more, so I'm peeling off some of the burlap ribbon and then placing the pink underneath and having it peek out a bit more in some places. Now I'm taking this leaf garland and I'm cutting off some of the leaves and hot gluing them in different places around the wreath. To add a bit more of a spring touch to this wreath, I'm taking some pink flowers and hot gluing them to the top and the sides. I have this home fence sign I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm painting it with this purple paint from Dollar Tree and this green paint from Deco Art in the shade Aloe. And I'm mixing a bit of white acrylic paint into both of them to lighten up the colors and make them more pastel. To start with, I'm painting the first part of the fence green, then I'm alternating with the purple, then the green again, and the purple. I'm writing out the word home with a Sharpie on my fence sign. Now I'm adding this fence to the middle of the wreath by adding hot glue to the edges of the fence, then sticking it onto the wreath. Today's video is part of the 5 Under 5 DIY challenge hosted by Missy from Crafty Cove DIY and Emily from Farm Charm Chic, and co-hosted this month by Kendra from Late Night Creations. This month's theme is spring decor, so make sure to click the link to the playlist in my description box. For this DIY, I'm using this flowers and garden pot from Dollar Tree, along with these 4 styrofoam balls. Now, if you have some floral foam, you can definitely skip this step. I had one idea for these styrofoam balls to begin with, and then it kind of transformed into something else. So it would definitely be easier to use a block of floral foam. But if you don't have any and you happen to have some styrofoam balls laying around, then you can do what I'm doing here, which is attaching them using pieces of floral wire. I'm now going to cover the styrofoam balls with this Spanish moss using hot glue. Now, since I originally had a different idea for what to do with these balls, you'll see that I'm covering all sides of it with the moss, but then I do end up putting these inside of the pot as a base for my topiary. So if you're doing that, then you only need the moss on the top part. But sometimes that happens, ideas change and transform along the way, just depending on what supplies you have and what comes up. And sometimes something I thought was going to work ends up working out in a different way, and that's totally okay. I'm now adding some fake leaves around my styrofoam balls, just hot gluing them in place. I'm now taking 3 bamboo skewers and painting them with this paint from DIYS in the shade Fawn. I'm using 3 sticks because I'm going to be hot gluing them all together. And I just thought this might look a little bit more realistic for the topiary rather than having just a singular skewer. And I definitely like how this turns out. It just gives it a little bit more dimension and a little bit of a nicer look, I think. I have these green moss balls already. I believe these were from Dollar Tree, but if you didn't have these, you could just use some styrofoam balls and cover them in moss. And I'm sticking my skewers through the 2 balls. So one is at the top and then one is in the middle. Now I'm poking my bamboo skewers with the moss balls into my plant pot. And if you used floral foam for the base, this will be a lot easier to stick in than it was for me with the styrofoam balls. For this DIY, I'm using a wood round sign from Dollar Tree and this Be Kind calendar page from this Enjoy the Little Things calendar, also from Dollar Tree. This calendar was from last year, but they always have similar things every year in case you were looking for the 2023 ones. I thought this page was just really nice and springy. I'm tracing the sign onto the calendar page, then cutting it out. Since the calendar page doesn't totally cover every part of the wood sign, I'm using these 2 paints, a green in the shade Aloe from DIYS and this white paint from Folk Art. And I'm mixing the 2 together to get a nice light green. I'm marking with my pencil where the gaps are on the sign. And these are the parts that I'm going to be painting. Other times I've just painted the whole wood sign, but it's really not super necessary since the calendar page is going to be covering most of the sign. So I thought I would just try painting the exposed parts, and really these mostly get covered up too with bows and embellishments and everything. But I just thought it was a nice touch in case any of it peeked through. Now I'm using some decoupage glue and painting it all over the sign, the parts that don't have the green paint, then gluing the calendar page onto the sign. You could also use a glue stick. The Mod Podge or the decoupage glue does make the page a little bit wrinkly, but if you don't mind that, then that's totally fine. You would probably get a bit of a smoother look if you used a glue stick. I'm now taking this burlap garland and I'm going to make a big bow for the top of my wood round sign. I'm laying it across the top to get an idea of how wide I want the bow to be. Then I'm cutting it. And this burlap ribbon is quite wide, so I'm cutting it in half lengthways and doing this twice, so I have 4 pieces. I'm hot gluing the centers of each of the strips of burlap, then folding them by kind of scrunching the middles together so they almost look like little bows, or at least pieces of bows. Now all 4 pieces are done, and I'm taking some twine and I'm tying 3 of the burlap pieces together. Then I'm adding a dot of hot glue in the center and adding the 4th strip of burlap on top. I'm cutting 2 more of the thin strips of burlap, and I'm using these to make the center of the bow. I'm wrapping them around the center, then hot gluing them in place. I didn't really like how the ends of the bow were looking, so I'm folding them over and using hot glue to glue them in place so the ends have the more folded look and not more of the straight edge. And this is the completed burlap bow. I'm hot gluing this to the top of the sign. I have these pretty white flowers from Dollar Tree, and I'm taking them off of the bouquet, and I'm going to arrange them around the sign. I had taken just the flowers off, but I decided I want the leaves on there as well, so I'm hot gluing those onto the bottoms of the flowers. I want to be able to see the centers of the flowers, not just the sides. So I'm separating two of the petals and opening up each of the flowers. And I'm using scissors to help me out. Now I'm hot gluing all of these flowers around the sign. You can see I also added a few of the little laser cut butterflies from Dollar Tree, and I left them plain because I thought the brown really matched with the burlap bow, a little bit more of a neutral spring vibe. For this DIY, I'm using this cutting board sign from Dollar Tree, along with this calendar, also from Dollar Tree. And I'm actually using the front cover page. So I'm cutting that out to fit on the center raised up area of the cutting board. You can see it's a little bit too tall to fit all of the flowers. So first I'm cutting off a little bit of the bottom. Then I'm cutting through that top section there, but I'm going to save it because I will be using it. I'm using this paint from Folk Art in the shade Country Twill, and I'm painting the entire sign with it. At first, I was just doing the outer edges since I'll be covering up the center with the calendar page anyway. But then I decided to just go for it and paint the whole thing, which is obviously not necessary. Now I'm taking a glue stick and applying it to the back of the calendar page, then sticking this onto the sign. This didn't work completely well, as you'll see later on. I end up using the glue stick on the sign instead, and that seemed to work a little bit better for me. Now I'm trimming the top so it fits the shape of the sign. I have this really pretty neutral plaid ribbon I got on sale at Michael's, and I'm using this to make a bow for the bottom of the sign. I'm making 5 loops with 1 in the center and 2 on either side of the bow. I'm using a white pipe cleaner to wrap around the center of the bow and hold it all together. Now that my bow is complete, I'm hot gluing it to the bottom of the sign. I'm now taking this pretty lace ribbon from Dollar Tree and I'm going to make a border with it around the sign. So I'm cutting the strips that I need and hot gluing them all around. This DIY is a modern farmhouse welcome wreath. I'm using this gold wreath form from Dollar Tree along with all these really pretty florals. I think the mix of the gold wreath with the muted florals gives a nice modern farmhouse vibe. This DIY is so simple, but it is so pretty. I'm cutting the flowers with my wire cutters, then tying them onto the wreath form with floral wire. I'm keeping all the florals on the bottom half of the wreath, and I'm leaving the bottom center blank with just the stems because I'll be adding a bow there. I have this burlap and lace ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I'm folding it into a loop, then cutting it down to size. I made sure to make the ribbon an inch or two longer than I wanted the bow to be, so that way the ribbon could overlap and I could glue it together. I'm gluing each of the layers of the ribbon together in the center of the bow. Then I'm folding the center edges to form the bow shape. I'm going to tie it all together using this cotton twine from Dollar Tree, and I'm tying it a few times around the center of the bow, then tying a knot on the back and cutting it off. I'm hot gluing the bow onto the bottom of the wreath, then fluffing up the sides a bit, and our welcome wreath is complete. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.